Hello, and thank you for giving us the first couple of questions. So on the forum, there are 2 at the moment questions, so please keep them coming. And please let us know whether us doing the answers in this format is useful to you. So I'm going to answer one question and Sue's going to answer the other one. So the question I'm going to answer today is from Snow Crow, from Hannah. And her question is, mixing herbs for intention. Weird question, but are there any herbs that really don't go together magically? Brilliant question. So we all threw in our ideas, and first thing I'll say is that all of us said that because we work intuitively, we work using our intuition, we've never had a problem. So no, from that point of view, as long as you are asking the plant, herb, spice, whatever, whether it's right for that. So no, from that point of view, there isn't. And as we were discussing this, really interesting, and I'm going to actually read this out because this is one of the comments that Rachel made. Got me thinking now. Interesting question. I have never had an issue because I work with my intuition. But you could go along with what herbs are like in the garden. Mint or lemon balm, for instance, being a bully and overtaking everything, might be a bit aggressive to put with a tender herb. It's interesting, isn't it? So mint and lemon balm, 2 very, very common additions to most magical bits and pieces. Could they? Could they actually say, yeah, I'll be fine? But when you actually mix them together, could they be? Because let's face it, in the garden, they are bullies. You put them in the ground, they will push everything else out of the way. They will overtake. So that's an interesting take on that, isn't it? Could they? There is that possibility. So yes, it's worth being aware of that when you are picking your herbs or spices to mix up for your intention. And the other thing that, now this is me, rather than saying what we've all come up with. So we all came up with, if we're working intuitively, which is what all of us tend to do, we haven't had a problem. What I will say is that keep it simple. Actually, I think Rachel also said this, so it's not just me. I think Rachel did say this. Don't mix too many. Keep it tight. So I tend to work with odd numbers. So I tend to use either 3 or 5. I have used 7. That was something that I was doing last year. And that seemed cool for those ones. So, and it worked, so that's okay. But most of the time I will tend to work with maximum of 5, usually 3. And I will think about what I'm doing, what my intention is, what the situation is, and then I will start to put together. So I will take, and just because it says in a list that this herb will work for this, you'll have a whole list of things, like in Rachel's books, which are brilliant, gives you that starting point. But when you actually have your intention and the situation that you're dealing with, they will be different every time. So it may be the same intent, but because the situation is different, it could need a different combination. So what worked for that particular instance, when you're doing it a few months or a year or whatever later, you've got your notes, you've got the lists in the book, but when you go to do it, you may find that as you take something off the shelf, the plant will say, not this time. And that's the thing. Actually ask the plants, ask them as you are putting things together. What I do is I hold the jar and I actually, while I'm just saying or thinking what I'm doing, what I'm putting together, why I'm putting it together, And if it says yes, that's fine. If it says not this time, that's fine. If it says a downright no, then that's a definite. So yeah, each time you cannot use exactly the same. You've got your notes, hopefully, unless you're like me and you sometimes I do things and then I think, oh, I didn't write that down at the time. But hey, you know, I'm a human. But you've got your notes, you've got the books, you've got the internet, you've got the lists. They can be your starting. But when you're actually doing it, you need to ask at the time. Because as I say, each situation will be different. Add in the idea of then mint and lemon balm being a little bit on the aggressive side. Thinking of that, if you were doing, say that you wanted to introduce something like honeysuckle. Honeysuckle can be very subtly overtaking and what have you. But anyway, something to think about. Really love these questions. So please do keep them coming in. Let us know whether this is useful or not. And yeah, see you next time.